Welcome to Raising Consciousness with me, Lou Burrows, where raising human consciousness happens. On this show, I'm joined by guests to cover a range of topics and have conversations that will raise human consciousness for current and future generations. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hi everyone, welcome back to Raising Consciousness with your host, myself, Lou Burrows, and today we have Sam Flynn on the show, who is a digital, if I can get my words out, well-being and social media coach and trainer. I'm really looking forward to having Sam on the show today, as we're going to be talking all about where and how our digital devices, so our smartphones, etc., can be used in a positive way. And I really wanted to focus here because I just feel like my general feeling is that in the world at large, there's a lot of negativity. So whatever we can do to bring more light and more positivity is where I like to focus my time. But Sam, thank you for being here. We'd love we'd love you in like a couple of minutes to introduce yourself more. Like, who is Sam Flynn? And we'll dive into the conversation.
I mean, for me, social media has formed pretty much my whole career. I've been involved in the social media world for 12 years now, helping businesses grow using social media and training them in the marketing side of social media. And I think because I've been so immersed in it, I've seen as well the negative impact it can have. My background's actually in business psychology, so I'm always really interested in human behavior and why we do what we do. And also, like, as a result, our relationship with the digital world, which is what digital well-being is really all about, managing that relationship so you get more positives from it than negatives. So I'm a mum of 3 as well, and none of them have a smartphone yet. So I'm really conscious of being a positive role model for them in making sure that they get the positive side of it and far less of the negative, which, as you said, seems to be something that is becoming more and more prevalent, and making sure that they use the digital world in a way that adds value to their life and doesn't deplete it.
Totally. And so you said that you kind of been in social media for, it's like over 12 years or something.
Yeah.
So like, take us right back. Like, how did you start like enter that space? Is that something like you always wanted to do, or like fell into it? Yeah, talk us about kind of your journey, and then we'll walk through and share some value.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very much fell into it. I mean, obviously, well, I'm 37 now. So when I was at school, social media wasn't a thing. It didn't even exist. We were barely on the internet, really. I mean, that sounds really archaic, doesn't it? But, that's the reality. I remember getting the internet at home, and I think I was I would have been about 15, maybe 16, and it was the dial-up internet. Some of your listeners will have no clue what I'm even going on about because it's that old. But, social media wasn't a thing when I was at school. So my career was never going to be a social media focused at all. But yeah, I did psychology and then business psychology, and that triggered me to start my first business, which was focused on employee surveys and employee engagement. And it was with that business that I just became really involved in the social media world and using it as a marketing tool. And I guess saw a bit of a gap really in that more and more businesses were using it, but there was no one really out there at the time, or very few people out there at the time guiding them in how to do that. So I trained myself up and I started approaching businesses, and it completely took over the other business. It took over the survey business really, really quickly because there was so much demand from businesses that were just in the dark about how to use social media. And it was a very different place back then as well, in all honesty. It was really easy to use because there was less volume of people on there. Everything was delivered in chronological order, so there was no algorithms. There was no suggested post to you. It was a case of find someone to follow and then you'd see all of their posts. So it was a very different landscape to what it is now. And obviously it's grown and grown and grown, and there are many, many more people like me out there delivering training now to businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when then you started to, I guess, move away from that and focus your attention more on helping people to manage their relationship with it, was that out of seeing the negative effects of how people were using it, or was there other reasons why you decided to shift in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few things that were starting to speak to me about making the change. Um, the really, it was very much pandemic led, as many of these career changes have been. But during the pandemic, I found that, I was home alone with three girls because my husband was able to go out to work because he was in construction. My youngest, I mean, they were like, yeah, my youngest was 17 months. My other two were 4 and 6. Trying to run a business with them at home all day, every day had become almost impossible without using my phone to do it. Because, if I sat on the sofa with my laptop on my knee, my 17-month-old would bash it. If I was sat at my desk, they'd all be like clamoring for my attention. But I found if I sat on my phone, that was just normal to them. So I found I was on my phone so much during the pandemic that by the time it started to kind of ease out of it, my phone was practically glued to my hand all the time. And it was when my middle daughter said to me, like, Mum, you're not even listening to me, you're just on your phone, you're always on your phone, you never listen to me, that I was like, oh my God, I'm properly addicted. And I really kind of thought, wow, it's not just me. I know it's not just me. I know there's other people out there that are like this and struggling with this. So I started doing loads of research, reading loads of books, watching loads of YouTube videos about it. So that was kind of stage one, more of a personal interest in how I could lower my usage and get more positive impact out of it than negative. The second part of that really was I started to crumble a bit mentally during the pandemic as well, and just sort of find it hard, like a lot of people did. And so kind of around July time, I decided I'm just going to take a month off social media. And I deleted all the apps from my phone. And it was like within a week of them being deleted, my mental health just steadily improved. So again, it was like, there's something here. There's a really big correlation between those social media apps being on my phone and my mental health. So that was sort of stage two. And then stage three was really just 12 years in the same career. I started to get itchy feet and think about maybe I can sort of turn this into a new career and something different that, while everyone's thinking about it, there's not many people out there that are going and coaching and helping people, and also businesses as well. That's part of what I do now as well, going and helping businesses understand how to create a positive digital culture rather than a culture of people who are permanently glued to their emails or having to check in at 10 o'clock at night or having to take their work phone on holiday with them. So, it was the realization that actually there's a lot I could do to help people overcome this and see the positives.
Yeah, so starting with like maybe the individual and then moving into business, what are some ways in which we can create that more positive culture with our devices ultimately?
So I think the thing to focus on always is what's going to bring fulfillment to my life. It's like what's going to, I was talking to someone about it just before this conversation, actually, if by the end of our lifetime, we're saying to people, I'm so glad I achieved this, and this, where do our phones come into that? So actually focusing on what do I really want to get out of life and in living a fulfilled life and in feeling like I've lived a fulfilled life when I am on that very late in life, hopefully, deathbed. And I guess it kind of is a bit similar to that saying, isn't it? That, no one on their deathbed says, I wish I'd watched more TV. And, the same will be true of any other device. I wish I'd been on my phone more, for example. So instead, we need to be thinking like, instead of feeling like we're wasting time on it, we need to be gaining advantage. So several things we can do with that. First is having a conscious use rather than an unconscious use. So just stopping before we pick up a device or log into social media, thinking like, what am I aiming to get out of this right now? And is it something that is going to benefit me, or is it something that is going to just be wasting my time? So being really conscious rather than letting them control us and just go, oh, suddenly my phone's in my hand and I've been scrolling on TikTok for half an hour. Actually going and picking up a phone and thinking, oh, what do I want to get out of this now? And how can I use this now that's going to fulfill me rather than deplete me? Then also, of course, making sure we're following people that bring us joy, and training the algorithm, because it's not just simply a case of following anymore, is it? If you go on your TikTok feed, most of what you're seeing is from people you don't follow on TikTok. So you need to train the algorithm. If you start focusing in on things that are hugely negative or you feel make you cross or angry or give you any negative emotion, then unfortunately the algorithm's going to learn that and it's going to give you more and more of that. You know, I noticed once on TikTok, I had looked at a true crime story, and it was quite horrifying, actually, showing you all these CCTV images of like women being, you know, taken off the streets and stuff. And I remember watching it all the way through and afterwards feeling like anxious and upset and all negative emotions. But the next time I went on TikTok, they delivered a new one to me because the algorithm had been learned that, gosh, she watched that all the way through. Let's show her more. She wants to see more of that. So really making sure we're paying attention to the things that give us the positive emotions, that make us laugh, make us happy, and then making sure that if there's anything that immediately makes us feel sad, upset, angry, lowers our self-esteem, anything like that, scrolling quickly past it. And there are measures actually on all of the platforms to hide things like that, and it will learn then. So, you know, there's usually 3 dots in the top corner, for example, that you can click on and say, you know, hide posts like this. And you're teaching the algorithm what you want to see, which is a huge benefit.
Sam, just on that point,
because you should be.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. No, just on that point, how long, from your experience, does the algorithm take to, I guess, kind of learn that? And what I mean by that is, so like I've done that before. You know, don't want to see this. It's actually on Twitter, I think it was, and then like the next day, something similar still came up. So I'm wondering, like, how. Yeah, so I'm curious, and like, how many times does one need to continue to say, "Don't want to see this," for the algorithm to learn?
To actually pay attention to you. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the platform. Some of them are better than others. Twitter is probably not 100% up there. You know, TikTok I find quite quick to learn. Instagram similarly quite quick to learn. But if you're seeing it again, I think I would also do exactly the same again. I don't want to see this, and keep telling it. But most of the time they are pretty savvy, and they should pick up on it quite quickly. Because the joy of it being computer learning rather than human learning is those computers can work, you know, millions of times faster than we can as humans. Their learning is a million times more advanced than ours. So it should be relatively quick. I would definitely, if you're seeing anomalies still and thinking, hang on, I already told them I don't want to see this, you're just going to unfortunately have to keep telling them. As I say, kind of TikTok and Instagram are generally, their machine learning is pretty rapid. Twitter, on the other hand, maybe it'll improve. You know, there'll be some big changes, obviously, with Elon Musk being at the helm. But yeah, Twitter's never really been the quickest when it comes to the computer learning. And also, Twitter in itself is generally, because it's so opinion focused, there's just so much breadth of kind of opinions and stuff on there. It's a very different sort of machine learning to watching videos of cats roller skating as opposed to watching videos of people being murdered. You know, that's very quick kind of learning because it's through video format. Whereas when there's so many different opinions being shared, it can kind of warp the algorithm somewhat.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it. So I mostly use Twitter for probably more personal use with like football stuff, because it's quite good to kind of get inside the news, I guess. So and then something came up and I was like, I think it was like about another club that I didn't really care about, so it wasn't nothing like negative or anything, but it was just like, I don't want to see this, and then it came up again, and then it was because on there, you know, like fans can talk about like other clubs and stuff, and I'm just like, why do I want to know what this fan thinks about the club that I support? You know, like I'm just not interested. So I was like, kept turning it off, but it kept coming up. So it's good to know that different platforms mean different things. Yeah.
It's frustrating, and like I say, just keep telling it, because it might be picking up the wrong thing. It might be thinking you maybe don't want to see one aspect of it rather than another aspect of it. So the more it picks up because if it's a certain team or anything like that, the better it will learn. So we do need to, we are in control of them, but you know, often it can feel the other way around. I think that's the important thing to remember. We can have control. They are designed to be addictive. They are designed to show us things that we will spend the longest time looking at, because the more time we spend on those apps, the more money they can generate, the more they can learn about us, the more they can deliver adverts that are highly applicable to us. Because every video we watch, every post we stop and read is telling the computer system what we're interested in, teaching the computer what the best ads are to deliver to us, and therefore make us more likely to buy from those ads, which makes money for the platform. So, they are all designed to be addictive. They do have experts. All of the social media platforms have experts in their teams who are trained in addiction and working with addiction on the negative side, really, and trying to get us more and more addicted. So as a result, we've got to put the steps in place, because they're not going to make sure that we see the positive impact of that rather than the negative.
And what's your opinion, thoughts on app blockers? So I have this. So I got an iPhone, and so this is like a setting where I can block certain apps, and so I've kind of set that up. So yeah, like for example, in the morning, I only use like my phone for like a guided meditation. So the meditation app is the only app that I can click on. And so and then it's I think it's called like sleep time or something. So all the apps lock at a certain time at night, type of thing. So what's your opinion on those?
They're really good. The good thing with any of those kind of blocking apps is they just create a friction between you getting access to the app and not getting access. So for some of them, so for instance, on iPhones in the screen time settings, yes, you can set it all up, but you can also very quickly override it. So that's the thing to make sure that while setting that friction in place of like, actually, I can't go on Instagram, for example, until 9 o'clock in the morning. But actually, if I click on Instagram, I can make the decision to maybe gain a minute on it now, or 15 minutes on it now, or just override it for the day and give me access all day. So I can still override it. That's probably, in some respects, the downside. But it does create the friction and stops us, like, oh, actually, do I want to go on this? I'm still in my downtime. I'm still in the time where I'm not supposed to be on it. I think giving yourself access to apps that give you positive results, like guided meditations, is a really, really good idea. And there are other app blockers out there, such as Freedom is a really good one, a paid app blocker that completely denies you all access. And again, you can log into Freedom, you can change all that if you absolutely have to, but it's trickier to do than just pressing a button. So Freedom is a really good one for having outright no access whatsoever. And what I like about Freedom is that you can use it on all devices as well. So if I'm busy with something on work, I can stop all access to different things on my computer, different websites, that kind of thing, to make sure I'm fully focused. But yeah, I think the key is that it's creating that friction, which it's just too easy. Again, I was saying to someone before, we can just literally pick up our phone. With Face ID, we're on our phone in seconds. We can be on an app within a second, phone up, app on. We don't have to input a code or anything anymore. So anything we can do to create that friction that stops that happening, such as setting your screen time limits, is a really good thing. One thing I have on mine actually is I only allow myself 20 minutes a day on social media on my phone. Because I run a business, I probably sometimes need to spend more, but I'll do as much as I can of it on desktop rather than on my phone, so that my phone's not in my hand and I'm not sat there mindlessly scrolling. And every time it pops up to tell me I've done my 20 minutes, it's that reminder, yeah, you've done 20 minutes. That's enough. You don't need to be spending any more time than that on there. And it makes me put my phone down. So I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah, in terms of the as you're saying about like the friction. So there's been a few times where it's like popped up and I've realize that actually, why am I going onto that app? As you're saying, it kind of questions you, so you are more conscious. And I didn't know about Freedom, so I'm going to check that one out. I would recommend everyone as well who's listening. But there was another one that was also a paid one that was forgot what it was called, but again, you couldn't override it, which I think is good ultimately.
Yeah. Because, unfortunately, human nature is, especially when it comes to addiction, it's kind of like putting a packet of cigarettes in someone's pocket and then saying, you need to stop quitting now. You need to stop smoking now. But this packet of cigarettes will always be in your pocket. Just don't touch them. Eventually willpower will break down and you're going to take one of the cigarettes out of the packet. And that's the problem, I think, with phones, is that they're always on us. They're always with us. So expecting ourselves to just stop naturally and just don't do it isn't going to happen. So putting that friction in place, for a smoker, that might be, I haven't got any cigarettes in the house, therefore I've got to physically leave the house and go to a shop and ask for them and pay for them. That's a lot of friction to help overcome that addiction. And so the same's true with our phones or whatever device you find yourself on more than you want to. It's just putting in any form of friction between you and that device will just kind of help build that willpower up a lot quicker.
In terms of, again, like going back to the positive uses, what are some positive ways that you've used like your phone or just...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like people expect me for what I do, and I do talk a lot about reducing phone use. They expect me to like not even have a smartphone and to, be one of these people who's just got an old school Nokia that does nothing more than, make calls, texts, and play Snake on.